For 1,000 years, the people of Eastern Europe whispered stories to keep their children inside after dark. Stories of the things that lived in the rivers. Stories of the things that walked the wheat fields at noon. Stories of the things that came back from the grave. These were not bedtime stories. They were warnings. And in the deep woods of Russia, Poland, Serbia, and Ukraine, some of the elders will tell you they still are. These are 5 Slavic folklore creatures most people have never heard of. The 5th one is the reason they used to drown roses in the river. Number 1, the Vodyanoi. In the rivers and ponds of old Russia, the millers were the most feared men in the village, not because they were cruel, but because of who they had to make peace with. The Vodyanoi, the water grandfather, an old swollen man with a beard of river weeds and skin the color of a drowning. He lived in deep pools beneath the mill wheels, and he was always hungry. Travelers who tried to cross his river without an offering would feel something take hold of their ankle. The water would rush up their face, and by morning the village would find the body washed up on the bank, eyes wide open, lungs full of black water. The millers knew. Every year they fed the Vodyanoi a black rooster or a horse, or, in the worst years, a stranger they did not name, because whatever was given to the river never came back. The Vodyanoi was real to them, so real that the law had a name for it. When a man drowned in 19th century Russia, the cause of death listed by the village priest was sometimes simply this: Utopil Vodyanoi. The water spirit took him. In the deep lakes of Karelia, fishermen still leave a piece of bread or a coin on the dock before going out. They will tell you it is tradition. They will not tell you what they think will happen if they don't. Number 2, Poludnitsa, the Lady Midday. Slavic horror does not always come at night. In the heat of summer, when the sun stood directly overhead and the wheat fields shimmered with heat, the farmers would lower their tools and go inside, because at noon she walked. Poludnitsa, the Lady Midday, a tall woman in white who appeared in the fields at the hottest hour, and she would ask you a question about the harvest, about the wheat, about anything. The questions were never simple. The old farmers had to memorize them. How do you weave flax in May? What is the proper time to harvest barley? How many days until the first frost? If you answered correctly, she let you live. If you answered wrong, or if you tried to walk away, she would cut off your head with her scythe. The old people called it sunstroke. The young people stopped believing. But in the parish records of Missouri in northern Poland, there's a column from 1879 that reads simply, "Found in the wheat, hat removed, no injury." 9 men in a single summer. And every year, in the villages of Czechia and Poland, men still drop dead in the fields at exactly 12 o'clock. Number 3, the Strasiga. In old Poland, they believed some people were born with 2 souls, and when those people died, only one of the souls left. The Strasiga, a creature that crawled out of its own grave at night, hunting the warm blood of the living, owl-like, hunched, with a mouth full of needle teeth. They could fly, they could change shape, they could even appear as people you knew. The villagers had to be careful. To kill a striga, you had to dig up the grave, cut off the head, and bury the body face down with its mouth full of soil. Some they buried with a sickle around the throat, so if it tried to rise again, it would behead itself. In 2014, archaeologists in a place called Drosko in northwest Poland uncovered 6 graves like this. All 6 were women, all buried with sickles. One had a stone wedged between her teeth to keep her from biting through her own jaw. Another had her ankles bound with iron. The graves dated back to the 17th century, but the truly unsettling part is that in the villages around Drosko, these burials continued in secret into the 1900s. The last documented sickle burial in Poland was recorded in 1937. Number 4. The Drekovac. In the forests of Serbia and Bosnia, there is a sound the old hunters refuse to talk about. The Drekovac, the screamer. They say it is the soul of an unbaptized child who died before it was named, wandering the woods, looking for something it cannot find. Its scream sounds like a baby crying, then like a man dying, then like your own name, and whoever hears it, the old people say, will be dead before the next full moon. In 1958, a logger working alone in the Tara Mountains came down from the forest before dawn, shaking, white as a sheet, refusing to speak. The next morning, he was dead in his bed. The village doctor wrote, natural causes. The village wrote something else. Even today, in the highlands of Bosnia, there is a saying, when the wind goes silent and the dogs all start to whine, close the door, and do not, under any circumstances, listen. It is not a story. In some Serbian mountain villages, there are still graves with no names, just the date the scream was heard. Number 5. The Rusalka. And in the rivers and lakes of Russia and Ukraine, there is one last thing the old grandmothers warned their grandsons about. The Rusalka, the spirit of a young woman who died in the water, drowned, murdered, or who took her own life. She does not rest. She waits. And on summer nights, she sings. Her voice is the most beautiful thing a man will ever hear. And the moment he steps into the water, her arms wrap around him, her hair becomes weeds, her eyes become black, and she pulls him down forever. The villagers had a name for the week she was strongest. They called it Zelenia Sviatki, the Green Week. During the Green Week, no one swam, no one bathed in the river, no one walked along the bank alone. Mothers tied red ribbons around their sons' wrists to confuse her. Some of those ribbons can still be found in folk museums in Kiev and St. Petersburg today. They were taken from the wrists of the boys she got anyway. The villagers used to throw flowers into the rivers in early summer, roses, daisies, anything red, to keep the Rusalka full, to keep her smiling. Because if the river ever ran out of flowers, she would come looking for boys. These are 5 of hundreds. Every Slavic village, every river, every forest has its own. The old people are dying. The stories are dying with them. But on quiet nights, in the deep forests of Eastern Europe, some of them are still being heard. Subscribe, because next time we travel to the Philippines and meet a woman who splits her body in half to hunt at night.